Grow, Sell, and Retire is a podcast for aspirational entrepreneurs and inspirational business owners who want to work less, earn more, and even more importantly, have an awesome time while doing it. Your host, BD Dalton, author of True Gravity, is here to give you the systems, processes, and actions for you to create the wealth that you've always dreamt about. Get your pencil, paper, and brain ready for secrets and top tips from his 25 years of experience in helping people build wealth. Here's your host, BD Dalton.
Hi guys, BD Dalton here, Grow, Sell, and Retire podcast. Today is another amazing interview. I don't know how I keep getting these. I'm getting very lucky. Sam's been lining them up for us. But today, do you know about finding your why? Peter Docker is been with Simon Sinek, making sure that we can find our why. Because when we have our why, we can do anything we want to. We can make sure that we reach to the top of the highest buildings or the deep of the deepest seas. But you can also make sure that your business creates wealth and happiness for you. So Peter's going to walk us through some of the ideas, some of the reasons why Simon Sinek came to him and said, you know what? I want to work with you. He's going to walk us through a little bit of the history of him working with Simon Sinek. He's just written his book along with Simon Sinek, and he wants to tell you about finding your why. If you've read True Gravity, and you're going to see some of this in Grow, Sell, and Retire, the book that's coming out fairly soon, in 2011, Peter Docker, Simon Sinek got together and started collaborating, moving things forward. This followed the 2009 TED Talk by Simon Sinek about finding your why. If you haven't seen or heard of Peter Docker, you will. You're going to look him up. You're going to track him down after this podcast because he is going to drop some knowledge. He's also going to drop some thoughts. And guess what? He's going to make us think about why we do what we do. So sit back, get your mind engaged, and get ready to look for, or actually what he calls it is discovering your why. Here's my interview. Grow, Sell, and Retire listeners. Let's learn how to be lazy overachievers with Peter Docker.
Where are you helping people be extraordinary today, Peter?
Great question, Bart. Well, actually, I'm helping myself be extraordinary, I hope. I'm at home at the moment, just preparing for another week of travel. Next week, so I'm at my home in the wonderful Cotswold countryside just west of Oxford in England, just recharging a little.
Very cool. And so how do you recharge? Is it just downtime or do you do anything fun? As in, do you go out and are you a golfer or are you an aviator still or what do you do?
No golf, no aviation these days apart from passenger, but you know, what's important, I think, in any walk of life is to give yourself time just to be. And that can be just relaxing with friends, family. For me, it's often going for a run. I love running. I love running through the countryside that we have around here. It's a great time to sort of let your mind go into free will for a bit, which is what we all need to do if we're going to bring our best to whatever it is we do in life.
That's very cool. So how did you get involved with Simon and David and this, or how did you initially come across one of my favorite authors prior to reading your book, is Simon Sinek? Well,
let's see. I remember exactly where I was when I watched Simon's TED Talk of 2009 about the Golden Circle and starting with why. And I was working for a consultancy in London. And it was shortly after that I decided that I would resign from my well-paid job in London at the height of the recession. Yeah, mad. My wife thought it was a bit mad as well, but no, there was just something inside me that said there's more to be done here. And I went home for about 4 or 5 months, and I took apart everything that I'd ever learned through all the different careers I've had and the challenges I had, for example, in the military, and distilled everything about what I'd learned leading people, communicating with people. And it was during that 4 months of sitting at home figuring all this out that I contacted Simon. And at the time, it was just David Mead answering the emails. David was working part-time. and there was just Simon and Kim as part of the team then. And David saw something. He still doesn't quite know what, but he's glad he did see something in that email. One thing led to another. I then met for breakfast with Simon at the Royal Air Force Club in London, where I was a member, still am, I think. And we chatted over breakfast. And what was remarkable about that meeting was that neither of us had pitched up to get anything. We'd pitched up to give. And we were just both there to see what we could offer one another. And we just stayed in touch. I ended up mentoring, coaching most of the Start With Why team as it grew. And then in the most remarkable act of trust, I think I will always remember, about 6 months after that meeting, Simon asked me to start speaking, as it were, on his behalf, helping him to take this message of the Golden Circle around the world, together with some of the other material that I have that builds on that, starting with why. And it was a remarkable act of trust, not only that he was asking me to do that in his name, but he hadn't actually heard me speak.
sight unseen or speaker unheard.
Exactly. So quite remarkable, and the relationship has grown ever since. And as you mentioned, started with us. I suppose the latest thing is the book Find Your Why, which I co-wrote with Simon and with David. And
so how does co-writing work? I mean, I know how it works, but I mean, how did it work with you guys? How did it feel different? Because everybody has a different collaboration method, so it's interesting. Were you the Ringo to the George, or were you the Paul to the? Where were you?
You see, when you're working with people who believe what you believe, it comes back to this idea of starting with why and the Golden Circle. We all believe in the same thing. We all are on a mission in this world, and we have different strengths. But when you're working within that same context of why it is you do what you do, then it's quite easy to work with one another. But what that looked like in practice, some of the practical challenges we have are that Simon is based in New York, I'm based in the UK, David is based in Utah, but actually we're on aeroplanes a lot too. And so physically getting together was very difficult. But we all David and I took the lead on writing the how-to, because that's what he and I have been practicing a lot and scaling over the years from Simon's original idea. Simon has a remarkable ability to clarify, to simplify, and to know when it's right to interject a story or whatever to illustrate a point. So he brings that magic. But David and I took the lead on different chapters, but then we swapped the chapters and helped one another revise and edit. Dave and I spent a long time on Zoom and Skype, working collaboratively on each sentence. And then we had quite a few sessions where David was able to get to New York. I was unable to get there, but he was in New York with Simon. I then called in by Skype or video conference, and I was on Simon's iPad, and they propped me up on the mantelpiece. And I was there for about 6 or 8 hours, as together we would have these long sessions to work through literally sentence by sentence all of this book. So, yeah, it was quite a challenge, but it was fun. We learned a lot along the way, and we're pretty pleased with the results because it's helping a lot of people around the world.
So do you think that what part of your training really took you to being the person that kind of puts together the workable parts of it versus the storytelling that Simon brings in? Was it in your professional career? Was it in your piloting? Was it in your military? What do you think really, probably everything, but what really took you to say, I can help you and this is my strength?
I don't know that I ever said anything like that. You know, when you're in the military, for example, let's just take that part of my background. Mm-hmm. A lot of your time is focused on causing things to happen. Quite often I was going into situations where peacekeeping operations, for example, where you're separating people or trying to stop them wanting to hurt each other, or evacuation operations, all sorts of things. But you're there, you're the action guys, you're causing things to happen.
Okay.
What I've learned since leaving the military, which is 10 years ago now, is the value of allowing things to happen. Where instead of pushing things, you take a step back. You are very clear on what you stand for and what you believe in. You share that with others so that they can understand that too. And then you create a space into which others could step. And that's how I describe what happened with my relationship with Simon, for example. I actually unintentionally created this space into which he could step, and he chose to offer things to me and see how I could be involved. It wasn't me going to him saying, look, this is my experience, these are my strengths, how can I help? No, he saw with his wisdom how I could complement his strengths, and then invited me to do the work that I do. So, yeah, the power of allowing things to happen.
That is amazing. It's one of my quotes on there. That the value of allowing things to happen is amazing. Because I'm just scrolling back down to the website and looking at things. So then, if you're allowing things to happen, and then on the website halfway down is they get awkward. So if you're allowing things to happen, and so then if you're allowing things, but then you're actually going to be a little bit out there, how did those two concepts, how could they work together?
Well, actually, the Get Awkward thing on my website that you referred to, Bart, is just a wonderful group of people who are based down in Brighton, a number of creative folks who aren't part of the same company. In fact, they're micro businesses.
That's cool.
One of them actually designed that website that you're referring to now. And they are a bunch of website designers, lots of creative people who have their own micro businesses. And I actually did a why discovery for them some time back. And normally a why discovery for a group, it's normally defined as a group of people who work for the same company or same tribe. Yes. This was an interesting group because they weren't defined by that at all. They were defined by a group of people who actually share the same shared office space, but get along remarkably well. And after that why discovery workshop, they said, you know what? We now understand the reason we get along so well. And from that workshop, they came up with Studio Awkward, which is the name that they use when they decide to collaborate and work together to help a particular client. And so getting awkward down at the bottom there, that's just the link to those folks who are wonderful people. They're good friends of mine, and they actually helped put that website together. But it just goes to show the power of starting with why. It doesn't have to be defined by being part of one organization or a formal company or whatever. It can be defined by a group of people who just choose to share the same space together to achieve more than they would otherwise.
That's awesome. So when you're doing your workshops and you're helping them, so if somebody was starting today and they were just kind of needed to have this epiphany, or going into 2018 and they need to find their why, what's the best place to start?
Well, finding your why, either as an individual or as a company or team, the place to start is the same. Discovering your why is just that, it's a discovery. It's not a creation. A why is uncovered. And we do that by looking back at specific moments in our life or our company or our team that we're particularly proud of, the things that stand out, the experiences that we would relive in a moment, given the chance. Yeah, but they need to be very specific experiences, because when we talk about specific stories, it triggers the emotional centers in our brain. That's why we have memories. So, at a personal level, if we're doing a personal why discovery, and somebody would say, well, I always used to enjoy Christmases, the holidays, when I was young, would say, okay, good. Tell me about one specific Christmas holiday period that you remember. They might say something, well, I remember when I was on my granddad's knee and he was telling me about the stories of when he was young. Something specific. That's important because we're emotional animals and our memories are generated when we experience emotions. And when we talk about things in generalities, we don't trigger those emotions. When we talk about things, specific instances, it reconnects with those emotions. And those emotions generally are connected to the values that we hold, our unshakable beliefs, the things that make up who we are as individuals, our signature, if you will. And it's those things that start to emerge when you go through a why discovery, either as an individual or a team. Those themes that emerge then point you towards your why. And so that's the process. Anybody going into 2018, identifying your why, discovering your why, either as an individual or as a company or as a team, is the most valuable thing you can do because it creates the context within which you do everything. And when the world is changing rapidly, when business is constantly changing, when there are new opportunities and challenges on the horizon, it's your why that gives you that unshakable guiding light. And it's the most valuable thing you can do.
So now, if they've gone out and they've found it, and so let's say now we're into 2019. Everything in 2018 we had found it, and then let's say we've now gone into recession, or we've now gone into this, and people start to stray from their why because they're either trying to fill the fridge or keep clients happy or fight the people from the door that are the bill collectors and all that type of stuff. And sometimes, do you find that people stray, and then how do you get them to refocus when things are not as peachy and rosy as when they possibly sat down and designed their why?
Well,
discovered. Sorry about that. Discovered their why.
Oh, yeah, the language is important here, but yes, discover their why. So, a couple of things from your question there, Bart. First of all, you can't have anyone do anything. You know, you said to me there, how can you make somebody stick to the why or encourage them to? You can't. You know, you can if you stand over them all the time, but that is totally unsustainable. People need to choose to do this. But when people are connected to their why, which incidentally it's an ongoing thing, you know, you discover your why, but then you need to work at it. Like all good things, you need to work at it to stay connected to that why. And when you do, then you find that there is great courage that you can find from it. You know, when you're clear on what it is you believe and you can put it into one sentence, that's the key. You know what the feeling is, but when you can put it into words in one sentence, then you can clearly state what it is you believe in and what it is you stand for. And when you're clear on that and you declare that to other people, several things happen. One is that you tend to attract people who believe what you believe to help you through the good times and the not so good times. But also it's a source of remarkable courage. When we're clear on what it is we believe and what it brings to the world, it gives us great courage to stand up and to pursue that. And when we put that into a business context, you know, it's not always roses and rainbows every day in business. We all know that. But being connected to your why and staying close to that why is what gives you the courage to find your way through the difficult times. You know, there's a couple of examples here. When many of us perhaps went to college or university, you chose to go and do a particular course, maybe, let's say a doctor or finance, or choose whatever you like. There would be some people perhaps that would have said to you, no, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, can we just pause for a moment? There was another call coming in from somebody. I want to make... Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No worries at all.
Hang on. just pause. Darren, are you on?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, could you hang up, bud? I'm in the middle of an interview podcast at the moment. I don't know how that's happened.
my apologies.
Oh,
everyone.
Oh, no worries at all.
Okay.
So that's good.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back. So somebody's at university taking a course and they're going through it. So let's go through that one.
Okay, so the first example that we often have of taking a stand for what we believe is when we choose to do a particular course at university. So my friend's daughter, she chose to do medicine. It's a tough course, and there'd be those around her saying, yeah, perhaps you don't want to go into that field, do something easier. But no, she was determined. She knew that she was passionate about this, and she wanted to do this course. So a declaration, if you will, of what she stood for and what she believed in. This was the route for her. And during that long, long course of becoming a doctor, there would have been some very tough times, difficult times when perhaps she didn't love it. Perhaps there were times when she didn't really like it at all. But because she was determined, she was focused on it, it's what she believed, she found her way through, and she actually qualified. So it's the same in business. When we're engaged in something that we truly believe in, that we're passionate about, that is consistent with our why, then it gives us the energy and the courage to fight our way through when times are very tough. And the great thing is that when we can put our why into words, and we've attracted those who believe what we believe to help us on this journey, then they too will help us, continue to help us when those times are tough, in business, in life generally. So, yeah, in your scenario, Bart, of 2019, times are tough. It's the time to get really refreshed and connected to your why, because that is what's going to carry you through.
And you've toured all over the world. You've, we've said cities visited, countries visited, 86. What was your favorite country? Do you have a favorite?
I don't, actually. I have a love of traveling and meeting people. There are some beautiful places around the world. The Highlands of Scotland are some of the most beautiful areas I've been to. But I love parts of the States, South America, Central America. I'm going to miss somebody else here. And if
everybody, the world's an amazing place.
It is.
Upset anybody.
And what I would say to cap that is that regardless of where I travel, the cultures that I come across, the languages I come across, one thing binds us all together, and that is we're all human beings. And at the level of biology, we all operate in exactly the same way. We're an ancient machine in the modern world. And what I find really heartening, Bart, is to discover that everyone around the world has similar hopes, similar fears, and this concept, this idea called Starting With Why, resonates with everyone. And that gives me great hope for the future.
That's very cool. So you've written books. What are you currently reading that keeps you inspired or focused?
I'm reading the newly published book from a friend and Start With Why colleague, actually, Kristen Hadid. She runs her own business called Student Made. The book is called Permission to Screw Up. It is a wonderful, wonderful first-person account of learning how to lead. Kristen Hadid, when she was at college, she's American. She was in college in Florida. When she was at college, she wanted to buy a pair of jeans for $99, and she didn't have the money. So she put an advert in the local paper to clean a house because she figured that was the quickest way of getting money. But anyway, long story short, things snowballed, and she turned it into a business called Student Made that only hires college students to do the work of cleaning houses and apartments. And it's a remarkably successful business because it grows and builds leaders and people who have pride in what they do and go on to be extraordinary human beings. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. Lots of lessons in there, practical advice, and I'd warmly recommend it to anybody.
Well, so what's your? Are you a techie? As in, Is there something that makes changed your life or made it easier, whether it's some software or some hardware, that especially since you travel a lot? Is there something that you carry around that makes your life more simple?
Absolutely. I'll break rules and say two things. First of all, it's a general thing, which is I travel exceptionally light. No matter where I'm going and how long I'm going for, regardless of the climate, I will just take a single small carry-on case. That is it. So traveling light, and that includes my running kit as well, Bart, because I always take my running kit.
Wow.
But yeah, traveling light is the most freedom-giving thing I've come across in recent years. It helps you to enjoy the journey rather than find it to be a struggle. And then I must confess that the other thing that makes my life a lot easier is my smartphone.
Yeah.
The apps on that enable me to stay connected, enable me to do a lot of things that quite often, or in the past, you would have needed an army of people to do, I think. So, that transforms lives as well in a positive way. There's a downside to it as well we have to be careful of, but it can be a very positive thing, and it helps me enormously.
So following a success that you guys have had with Find Your Why, what's your next project or book that you're working on, or collaboration that you're working on in that space?
Well, first of all, let's take that word success. Success for me is measured by the joy you feel when you go home at night. So I feel that quite a lot these days, and I'm determined to continue to seek that out. And that's all in service of the world that we imagine, which is one where everyone gets up each day inspired to go to work, feels safe whilst they're there, and comes home at the end of the day fulfilled by the work they do. So there are a number of things that we're doing to work towards that vision that we have in the Start With Why team. Current project, we're working on a webinar where David Mead and I will be going live on a free-to-access webinar. It will be advertised shortly. I think it's going to be in early December. And we'll be answering questions from anyone who is currently using the Find Your Why book or the Discover Your Why online course that David and I have done recently. We'll be there to answer any questions that people have on the process of discovering your why. So that's the latest project, if you like. We're looking at perhaps other books in the future. And other online resources for people to use, all in service of that vision that I've just described.
So, and I'll put it in the show notes, but so the Why Not Unlimited is a place to find you. Where can we find the other stuff that you're doing, like the webinar and things like that? Where's the best place to find that?
So the best place to find everything to do with Start With Why is on the startwithwhy.com website.
Perfect.
There'll also be announcements, for example, with the webinar on Facebook, on the Start With Why page on Facebook, and also on the Start With Why Instagram and Twitter. And I'll be retweeting and re-Instagramming that through my accounts as well. So, yeah, it will all be out there.
The power of social media. Here's a question for you. So, are you thumbs up, thumbs down, or undecided on going from 140 to 280 characters on Twitter? Or does it matter?
I kind of thumbs down.
Yep.
I believe that simplicity is the greatest sophistication.
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo da Vinci first said that, and he's a pretty bright guy. So I like keeping things simple. And the discipline of 140 characters drives you to keep things simple. So, I would prefer to keep it that way.
So travel light again. Just travel and tweet light.
Keep it simple.
That's correct. So if you're leaving a final thought, besides the keep it simple, if you're leaving a final thought for the listeners and how going into our 2018 or just the rest of their lives and finding their why, what would be your kind of final thoughts for them?
There are only two things in this world. There is content and there is context. Content is the stuff that we say, the stuff that we do, the things that we're at work on. But content has got no meaning whatsoever without context. It's like the jigsaw puzzle we had as children. Content was all the bits of jigsaw puzzle on the table, just sitting there waiting to be pieced together. It had no meaning whatsoever until we saw the picture on the box. The picture on the box gave us the context. The context in this conversation is the why. When we discover our why, it gives us context to everything that we do. And when we have that context, it can change the meaning of what it is we do. Only two things in the world, content and context starts with why.
That's awesome. So it's very much, hopefully, that you've given us a lot of content, and hopefully after they've listened to the whole thing and hopefully read your book, they'll have the context that fits into. So thank you so much, Peter, for your time today, and I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome, Bart. It's a pleasure being here.
Thanks for joining us on Grow, Sell, and Retire. For more information, tools, or to book one of our team members to work with your team, business, or to speak at your event or conference, visit bartdaltonconsulting.com or email contact@bartdaltonconsulting.com. Buy the book True Gravity on Amazon. If you want to work for the rest of your life, that is your business. If you don't, that is ours.